Welcome to Cinemapile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemaphilepod.com. Israel-Palestine on Swedish TV, 1958 to 1989, by archival film maestro Göran Hugo Olsson, who also did a wonderful documentary film previous to this called The Black Power Mixtape, is assembled from a vast stockpile of footage cataloged from the vaults of the Swedish National Television Service, SVT, where it accounts for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as witnessed and represented by Swedish journalists. It's a remarkable film. If you have any interest in what's happening in Israel and the Middle East and the political dynamics and social and all the different ways in which this thing has been such an important part of world politics and regional politics for many, many decades, as demonstrated by this wonderful film. We're joined today by the director, Göran Hugo Olsson. Göran, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. As I said before we got started, I have been someone who has tried to pay attention to this. I've lived long enough to see the impact it's had on the lives of the people of the region, but also in terms of the dynamic of world politics. It's had a tremendous impact. What put you onto this? How did this get going as an enterprise you wanted to undertake?
I think it's very obvious when you start a film project. This is a huge one, but it doesn't have to be a big film like this in that sense. Always when you consider, I think, three different things. The first one is idea. If you are thrilled by the idea. The second one is the material. In my case, but it could be that as a documentary filmmaker, you get access to a workplace or a community or whatever. In my case, it's access to a footage. And thirdly, and which this is most important, is there an audience for this? And that doesn't have to be a big audience, but is there someone out there who could be really thankful for you doing this work? So it's not like I'm trying to reach a big audience, but I'm really testing my ideas. Is it relevant for anyone else? And in case of yes, who is that? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And sometimes you are lucky. So we make those films, and sometimes they fly international, sometimes they stay in Sweden, and that's fine, and have a huge impact in Sweden or in that community, which the film deals with in a way, or some. So it could be on so different levels. But I think what really kicked me off was that I've been into the topic. I saw footage which was amazing, and then I knew that this could be interesting. This will be interesting for someone else than me. So
Yeah.
the three things are the keys, and they all have to be to 100, in order to embark on film project to me.
Now, given what I mentioned in the introduction, your previous work, the Black Power Mixtape, which was an assemblage of footage, was this opportunity married to something that you knew existed? Did you know about this archive that television? What is it called again? I get this right. The Swedish National
Swedish
Television Service.
television or Swedish broadcast company. It's a public service company. It's like BBC in Sweden.
And would it be like PBS here? Would it be akin to the PBS?
But it's bigger because BBC, it's more like BBC in the way
Okay.
that they do everything, entertainment, game show, singing contest, and drama and everything. So also, like the BBC, it's seen by everyone. It's
Mhm.
not like for a specific, maybe higher education audience. It's public service in a European way or British way, you could say.
I mean, you obviously knew that they had been covering this story, this part of the world for a while, right?
Yeah, no, exactly the same with the Black Power mixtape. I was doing something else, and then I ran across upon some images that I didn't know about, and wow, this is great stuff. Maybe we can do film on this. I didn't know that. And then I knew about some material, and obviously some of the stuff in the film I saw as a young person or like a kid. So, and I knew and seen other films and so on. So I think I saw one or two or three key scenes by accident that added up to, oh, we could do something around this. Is great. But I work closer with the Swedish public broadcaster, so I think maybe they got me access to the archive or and so on. But it's always one or two almost images actually that sparks the idea to make a film. It's so those fuel the idea, and then you try the idea. Is this great? And you
Yeah.
do, you know.
We see in the film how this film starts from the footage that was shot in 1958. That's sort of the beginning of the story. And just in terms of the what has happened in Israel and its struggle for independence and all of the tension around Israel, whether it be in Lebanon or Egypt, but in particular Jordan. Jordan factors into the Israeli story in many, many important different ways. Without diving too far down into all of that's a rabbit hole we could spend a lot of time talking about. But what I love about the film is that you really seem to emphasize the things that mattered at the time that they happened, and not necessarily something that in the perspective of today, from the perspective of today, they matter. So we're seeing as close as I think you could get to real time perspective, on the ground perspective at the time it was happening, which is really, really important. And I just love that about the film. Let's talk a little bit about that perspective that you were able to cultivate in the film.
I've been doing documentaries for a long time, and I'm kind of I think a lot about the development, how you tell stories, what kind of stories, and what is documentary for a contemporary audience, and this develop, and I think that we've seen a rapid developing environment in the documentary landscape because I think that when we have access to everything at all time, like YouTube or social media, but especially you, which I love, but and Wikipedia, I think that we as filmmakers shouldn't have to adjust the way we tell stories accordingly, which in my synthesis calls for that we have to bring the audience and make them make their own conclusions, not have a strong narration in like ba 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 ba, and not try to captivate the audience by the classical tools for filmmaking like music and
Right.
sound and seductive editing. I think that the time now for people who watch documentaries, not for television or anything else, but the time the people who look at television, they want something more raw. For themselves to decide, we don't have to write them on their noses, so to speak. We produce a opportunity for them to make their own conclusion. I even encourage people in the theaters to be on, and I know they are because I am on Wikipedia at the same time. There is no need, the most basic example, there's no need to present Yasser Arafat, he was born in that date and died in that date, blah, 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 blah. All that information, background or trivia even maybe, we don't have to deal with anymore.
Mhm.
Uh, that's new in filmmaking, and we don't have to seduce the audience. The audience, if they want to be seduced by film, they are not going to the documentaries.
Yeah.
And also, I think, also we done so much editing, but we still want it to be seen as, which is not. This is maybe hypocrisy from myself, but we want to it look raw. We want to present it so you get interactive as an audience, you know. You are presented with the facts, that's very important, and then you can see what you want in the image. So we put a lot of effort into the sequences that they look out of the camera or
Right.
out of the box, so to speak, but they are not. But because sometimes the batter is better than the cake, you know. So, and also, I think that in this interaction with the audience, for them to see for themselves and have a freedom of choice in the story is really important today because, yeah, so, and I think I got this from more from the fine art scenes, you know, that sometimes it's very bare, you know, you have the facts and you have an image and then you do the math yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you're
but
right.
I
And
think,
honestly, this is the issue. This is the conundrum. This is the question that is always presented in making a film, especially a documentary film. By the fact that you edit, you are automatically making editorial decisions. It's unavoidable in a sense that you have to make choices about what's in the film. But by watching something that was on the ground reporting at the time that it happened, you have taken a lot of those concerns off the table. And I love the way you describe, your audience, the people who are interested enough to want to know about this. It's a self-selecting group, let's be honest, a self-selecting group of people who are going in with a certain level of understanding, undoubtedly an understanding of what's happening
yeah,
to begin with. Even though the film title is from 1958 to 1989, you give us how the establishment of the state of Israel, there's footage of that, what happened, the clearing of this, the making it viable for Israelis or Jews to move there from around the world, and all of the things that happened prior to 1958. But and again, one of the things about this film is you can, in your own mind, go, well, this should have happened instead of that happening. And maybe we'd be in a different place. It is kind of a Rorschach test for the viewer. For the viewer, do they really think that the way I think? And again, this is incredibly important to our world. This is an area of the world that could end the world because it wouldn't take much to start a nuclear war over this region of the world. And I think to know what you present to us in this film, I know I'm going on here, but I just can't underscore how critically important it is to understand this, and especially in the way that you present
that's what we try to do. So,
it.
yeah.
Okay. How much did you know that be going in, and how much of making of this film either changed or reinforced what you knew? You don't have to be specific exactly, but just in terms of your general understanding of the region and its history, what about making this film, one way or the other, had an influence on how you perceive this?
What I have to say in that sense is that today I'm very depressed and I'm in despair. This working with this film and what happened 2 years ago until now has really put me in a place as an individual where I have difficulties to handle the world. I don't know, it's like I've been aged 50 years in 5 years or something. I feel I can't understand it and I can't accept it because when we were pitching this idea, it was maybe 5 or 6, 7 years ago. I can't remember, or it was a long pre-production phase. I said to the broadcaster that I know that something is going to happen, something big is going to happen. So maybe we could do the film and then sit still on it, and then we release it when it explodes. But I had no idea that it should be on this magnitude, in this scale. So when 7th of October happened 2 years ago, it was devastating to me because what I saw was special for me because I've spent the previous 5 years watching the same thing over and over again, and then it came out like this, and it was like a nuclear bomb, or so, you know. Wow, I was really tired and sad of 5 years of this material, and then that happens. So yeah, my lesson is just depression and despair in that way. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can understand why, because there are, I'll call them more than breadcrumbs of evidence along the way that this was probably going to end up here. You in the film we see, and again, let me be clear. This is nothing to do with the validity of the state of Israel, as all the things that I think need to be said. This isn't an attack on Israel as a state. But it's hard. It's really, really hard now to not see that we were probably going to end up where we are in Gaza. Now, I'm going to again, once again, October 7th, an absolute horrifying war crime, whatever label you want to put on it, no justification whatsoever for what happened on October 7th. Zero. But given the progression of the encroachment, and maybe for good reason, fear of their own safety and the rest of it, it just feels like we were going to end up here. The overreaction, the military, sort of the overreaction in terms of the casualties, and has been there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that within the state of Israel, within the political class of Israel, I don't think they have ever really, truly recognized the validity of a Palestinian state on their border. They've always called Jordan a Palestinian state, as far as I know, and it says so in the
Yep.
film. They've
Yep.
always called Jordan the Palestinian
Mm,
state, and they
mm.
have never acknowledged the right of the Palestinians in Gaza or West Bank to be a legitimate state. So what's happening now does not, in that regard, does not surprise me.
No. But what surprised me, I totally agree with you in what you're saying. But what not surprised, but what was also in the material, and we have people saying that there is a dehumanization of the Palestinian people, and that's the only explanation to what's going on in Gaza today, is that they've been dehumanized for so long time. So my belief is that the soldiers, they don't see them as fellow human being, but something else. That's the only way I could understand the cruelty. And yeah, that you dehuman. This is in all wars and so on, that you try to dehumanize your enemy and so on. But this is on a level we haven't seen for a long time. We've in my lifetime. So that's the only way you could, I'm not saying understand but explain that it's because I can't see. Maybe it's a myth, but never been. But some kind of ethics in war and being a soldier and serve your. But this is beyond that. So I think this shows the process of dehumanization been going on for a long time.
Yeah, by the way, I want to remind our listeners we're speaking with the director of the film, the documentary film Israel-Palestine on Swedish TV 1958 to 1989, Göran Hugo Olsson. This is a powerful, powerful documentary film. And for people who, let's say, want a crash course and just sort of understanding a better understanding of this part of the world and of Israel and its neighbors. This is I couldn't recommend it more highly in that regard. I thought you went out of your way to give, as you know, as I've been saying since the beginning of our conversation, as much latitude to all different points of view as possible.
I may plug something. I say we have a screening at
Oh,
the Cinematheque in Los Angeles next Thursday, I think, of another film of ours called Concerning Violence, which is based on the writings of Frantz Fanon, the writer, and the narration is read by Miss Lauren Hill, and it deals with violence in oppression, colonialism, and I think that's a key text and a good, solid film to understand what happens to oppressed people, the exposed to violence on a long time. So if you're interested in that, it's not, it's my film, but the quality of the film is 99% in the text.
Okay.
So that's why I don't feel any hesitation to say it's a way of explaining what oppression do to the human being.
Once again, the name of that film.
Concerning violence,
Okay, and that's at American Cinematheque here in Los Angeles
yes,
next
and
Thursday.
it's the book is called Wretched of the Earth by Frans Fanon.
So that's
Uh,
Thursday. That would be October 16th.
So
I'll put
if you
put
have a
that.
chance to see that, I think it's you can see it. It is with film we did 10 years ago, and it's almost experimental in a way, but it was a huge success, and it went to theaters in 25 countries, including 7 in Africa. It's dealing on the surface. It's dealing with the decolonization of Africa. It's also he was a psychologist, and he is explaining the mechanism within oppressed people, why they react with ununderstandable violence, and yeah, I truly recommend that.
I want to let people know that Israel-Palestine on Swedish TV 1958 to 1989 is being released through Icarus Films. You can go to icarusfilms.com to find out more about this and how you can watch it, where and all of the things that we're talking about. Yeah, and Concerning Violence came out in 2014. Is that also on Icarus, or do you know who's the real?
No, that's Lord Lorber.
Okay,
Lorber.
Lorber. Okay, Kino
Mm.
Lorber. Okay. We see the man credited as being the founder of the Israeli state. That would be David Ben-Gurion in here, Moshe Dayan, Golda Meir, Abba Eban, who spent a lot of time. He was very instrumental in being the face of Israel when I was growing up. As a diplomat, as you'd see him on TV a lot. Yasser Arafat is in here. There's just a,
You sorry to interrupt you, Abba
yeah.
Eban. He was so important, and he been coined by none less than Henry Kissinger to be the person in the world that was using the English language the best. He really owns the language, and you can see that in the film. Absolutely pivotal in promoting the Israeli interest after the Six-Day War, you could say. And yeah, so but then he became critical of Israeli invasion of Lebanon and so on. So he's a key figure, a key figure.
He is. And again, some of the other people that are key to our understanding, Yitzhak Rabin, Henry Kissinger, as we mentioned earlier, Anwar Sadat, Jimmy Carter. It is truly the people that we here in the United States especially have come to know and appreciate their perspective and our understanding of Israel and again of that area of the world. One I want to mention just in passing.
There is a lot of important Palestinian voices in the film as well.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no, yeah. I
uh,
mean,
yeah,
obviously,
so,
yeah.
but they
Well,
are not like household items. Maybe Yasser Arafat, but yeah.
by the way, there's one interesting, and it's not a big part of the film, but Rabbi Meir Kahane and how
Mm,
prescient he is to the moment we're living in right now.
yeah,
He is kind of the where a lot of
yes,
what we see in the Israeli government, particularly in the cabinet, really got a lot of airtime. The
yeah,
Kahane perspective. Is that a fair way to say that,
yeah,
Kahane?
absolutely. No, we're living in his world today.
Yeah.
So we're not living in the social democratic intellectual world of Ben Gurion or something else. It's his world, which is very aggressive, which is very religious in a way, a fundamentalist, that we are one people and the others are then yeah, so no, it's really depressing in that sense, I
Yeah.
think. And he's totally open also. He's almost Trump-like in the way that he gets a question which is something like this, like Jews are not Schopenhauer and Mandelstam or those great European Jewish artists. They are street thugs, taxi drivers. He talked about, Jews are not. those intellectual, Einstein, or they are it's taxi drivers. That's his folk, and he proclaims that the taxi driver know more about the Arabs than
In the politics.
the establishment
Yeah.
used to do. So yeah, he's very Trump-like in that sense,
Kahan,
anti-intellectual.
yeah, I would say Kahani is to the Israeli cabinet what Roy Cohn is to Donald Trump.
Yeah,
And
yep, yep,
and
yeah, absolutely. That's a very good comparison.
and also
Yeah,
to, just to point out that the man who signed the peace agreement, the Camp David Accords, Yitzhak Rabin, was assassinated. Meir Kahane is ascendant in Israeli politics. So there's so much here. I just cannot recommend this highly enough. As I said earlier, I truly hope that people who are listening to this conversation seek out this wonderful documentary film. And my congratulations to you on your work, on and also putting yourself out there in terms of wanting these kinds of stories to be out there, and the way you are your career as a filmmaker. Again, Israel Palestine on Swedish TV, 1958 to 1989. Göran Hugo Olsson, thank you so very much for your time today.
thank you, Mark. It was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much for reaching out.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.